Hey guys, it's Will with Terrible Infant, and you are watching the 7 weirdest episodes of UltraQ. If you're unfamiliar, hey, look what I have right here. This is the UltraQ Steelbook Blu-ray release with the slipcase from Mill Creek. This is also on Movie Spree, which is the streaming service that Mill Creek runs, so we'll put links in the description of this video to where you can watch that, and also links in the description to my episode called My 7 Favorite Episodes of UltraQ. So this show is totally bananas. It's kind of like The Twilight Zone. It's kind of like Godzilla. It's definitely got like a really strong 1960s like European art house cinema vibe to it, and also like Japanese. There's a lot of like weird stuff going on in Japanese cinema in the 1960s, influence from that too. So it gets really, really weird. And so I'm going to tell you what I believe to be the 7 weirdest episodes of UltraQ. I have my tiny handwritten list here that I tried clandestinely concealing on my lap in the last video. It just didn't work, so I'm just going to bust it out. So number 7 on my list of the weirdest UltraQ episodes, we have Kanegon's Cocoon. So Kanegon is this like mythical thing where that like greedy people turn into this little monster, like troll gremlin type thing with a coin purse for a head and this weird little alien monster body, and have to eat money. And so there's a kid in this. This episode had none of the primary characters of the show are in this episode. It's about a gang of kids who hang out like stealing junk from places and trading like crap with each other, and then like, you know, they buy stuff off of each other, and it's like this little kind of like kid gang thing. And one of the kids is kind of mean and steals all the other kids' coins and collects them and hoards them and has tons of money. And then he finds this like weird kind of chrysalis thing, and his parents are like, "Oh, that's Kanegon. You're going to turn into the Kanegon monster demon thing because you're so greedy." Lo and behold, that is exactly what it is, and he turns into this monster with a coin purse for a head, and he has a counter on his body, and he has to keep eating coins and keep the counter going up, because if the counter gets to 0, he dies. There's a character in here called Daddy Walrus, who's like this mean guy who drives a bulldozer, who hates these kids and just trying to run them over with his bulldozer, and it's just nuts. It's really nuts. He steals a bunch of coins from a woman at a bank and is shoving them in his mouth, and it's bananas. So there you go. Number 6 on my my list of the 7 weirdest episodes of UltraQ, we have Challenge from the Year 2020. So in this episode, people start just vanishing. Like there's a guy drinking lemonade and all of a sudden he's just gone. There's a woman driving like it's like a go-kart. She's driving a go-kart and she just vanishes from the go-kart. And it's like, what is going on? And then it turns out that these disappearances are following a pattern of disappearances described in a science fiction novel. So they have to go find the science fiction writer. And then it turns out that this alien race that is dying out in the future needs to harvest the organs of human beings in order to stay alive. So it's pretty dark and it's pretty weird, and it's really fun. Number 5 on my episode of the weirdest episode, or my list of the weirdest episodes of UltraQ, we have Terror of the Sweet Honey. So what's totally bananas about this really is the premise more than the events of the episode. There's a scientist who has created a type of super honey called honey gelion that makes things gigantic and super powerful. It is never quite explained why he does this or what the benefit of having this honey is, but if you eat it in really small quantities, then it's okay, and you feel a little bit healthier and stronger, but it doesn't do anything weird to you. So that scientist is engaged to a woman who his rival scientist is in love with. So the rival scientist steals the super honey and he feeds it to a mole, and the mole becomes huge. And there's all this seismic activity, and the mole becomes really aggressive and violent and starts destroying all this stuff. So there you go, super honey. Number 4 on my list of the weirdest UltraQ episodes, Mammoth Flower. This is exactly what it sounds like. There is a huge flower that is growing underneath Tokyo and then rips through the streets and rips through these buildings. And then it turns out it's evil too, and it has these long tendrils, which are kind of like its roots, and they're like murdering people. And then you find out that there's like been this, I don't know if it's like an existing government committee or there's like a special emergency government committee set up to deal with enormous violent sentient flowers. But it's kind of like if you've seen, what's the Godzilla movie with Biollante, where they take like cells from Godzilla and make a giant evil plant out of it. It's kind of like that. So it's pretty nuts. Number 3 on my list of the weirdest episodes of UltraQ, we have Grow Up Little Turtle. Now this was also on my list of my favorite UltraQ episodes. And so what we have in Grow Up Little Turtle, I'm just going to show this off to you real quick, is you have a kid who has a turtle, and he believes that if he can get his tiny turtle to grow big, then his tiny turtle will fly him to a mythical land where he will meet with a princess and do all these fun adventures. And his turtle starts to grow big, and there is a bank robbery involved. The kid somehow ends up on the lam with bank robbers while his turtle is growing big, and then his turtle starts flying him all around the city. And it's kind of like they were like, well, let's do an episode about bank robbers. Yeah, okay, that's a good idea. But what if we also did an episode about a magical turtle? Oh, that's a good idea. And then what if we did an episode about a kid who has a fantastical imagination, and it's almost like this kind of like Guillermo del Toro-esque thing, like Pan's Labyrinth, where he's like projecting himself into this mythical land. So it's pretty crazy. Where are we? Number 2. Oh, dude, this episode is insane. Number 2, the episode is called Devil Child. It is about all these like violent, weird things that start happening while this circus act is in town. And as it turns out, and I'm trying not to spoil too much here, but this part of the circus act has led to this little girl's soul and her body separating, and her soul is malevolent, and so it separates from her body at night and goes out and like murders people and wreaks havoc. And they have to, the mad scientist guy who works with the central figures in the show, like the group of reporters and stuff, he devises this thing that will refuse the soul and the body and prevent the soul from committing malicious acts. So, number 1 on my list of the weirdest episodes of UltraQ is Open Up. This is the final episode of the show, and instead of ending on like a happy note or like resolving the romantic tension between two of the leads that have been going throughout the season, they end on probably the weirdest and darkest episode on the show. So there's a science fiction writer who has somehow created a flying train that exists in a parallel dimension and that people get on when they have nothing to live for. And then when they're on, and it's like, the idea is, have you ever wanted a better life, or you wanted something else, or to get out of your mundane and miserable life, get on this train. But then what happens when they get on the train is they see all of their horrible memories happening simultaneously, and it drives them insane. And then one of the guys manages to escape the train, realizes he doesn't want to have escaped the train, but he probably doesn't want to get back on the train, and it kind of leaves you in a place where you're thinking he's going to kill himself pretty soon. And it's like really bleak and really weird. And it's an extremely bizarre episode to end the show on, but also like a pretty powerful statement of intent of like, well, you know, this is not going to go out in like a nice, happy way. This world of mysteries and monsters is still out there, and we will continue to explore it in future. And Ultra 7, which is the third series after, so it goes UltraQ, Ultraman, Ultra 7. Ultra 7 is really also like dark, existential, bleak, and violent. So it's possible that that is kind of like a lead-in to Ultra 7. So my name is Will. You've been watching Terrible Infant. Like I said, this is my list of the weirdest episodes of UltraQ. I love this show. Go check it out if you're into monsters, sci-fi, weirdness, like really far out sci-fi, not like action mainstream sci-fi. And we'll include links in the description of this video if you're watching on YouTube to where you can access this, or we'll tag people if you're watching on IGTV so that you can go over and find those accounts. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.